Very well said, Clarence. Yeah, absolutely. His spirit was 1,000 times bigger than his body. There's no doubt about that. So thanks, Leanna. Thanks for sharing that, Clarence. Next up is Lenny.
Oh, that's all right. I was sitting in the back there. I had to rush up. So, yeah, about him. I never actually. I only met him once in my life, and it just sticks out as a very, very poignant moment in my life. Because Reagan and I, we come here regularly. We read our poems, and I just remember because this one time I read this one poem. It was after a gray vase that was in the Sheldon Art Museum by Harvey Littleton, and I had written a poem. It was based loosely on Lamb Who Made Thee by William Blake. And I just remember that so well because he came up to me afterwards, and we ended up talking for about 30 minutes about, just the construction of poetry, and, sometimes how you just have to take a sledgehammer to logic and just do your own thing. And it was just very important because, as a writer, as a poet, you either find a mentor of any kind, or else you just sink to the bottom and die in your own miserable life. So that kind of mentorship is always very important. Mentors of any kind, always an important thing to have. But I don't know, something else that kind of came from that, and I was also talking with Cliff. I don't know if Cliff is here tonight, but we just got to talking about taking these moments in our real lives and turning them into moments of literature. And that's just that little talk we had that one night over hot chocolate and coffee is just very valuable to me. So I kind of kept that in mind while I was revising some parts of this one essay I submitted to a literary contest last month, and it's about the effort of trying to go vegan in a place like Nebraska, and it's just it's very odd because I actually had to get out my old King James Bible and think about Leviticus, because it lays out so many of these things. This is an abomination. This is not. And the strange thing is, if you actually understand the word usage in the original King James English version, is that abomination, it's really not so much like a moral usage, as in if you do this act, you are going to hell. It's just more of a ceremonial, societal thing. So necessarily, it does not necessarily condemn being gay as it condemns being gay as much as eating shrimp or eating an animal with a cloven hoof. It's really that simple, but it's just so odd because we have. It's like recently we've replaced Leviticus with the food pyramid. And I just find that's so amazing. Thank you, FDA. You are the new God of the Old Testament. You are doing wonderful things, and you're part of the reason God does not talk to us anymore. Anyway, this is the last part of that essay I ended up writing, and it's in an essay simply called Becoming Vegan in Western Nebraska. If I was forced to construct a definition for diet, I wouldn't be able to. I don't know what counts as food anymore. I don't know what we as humans are meant to eat or should eat. I don't think anybody truly knows. Not in today's world, in which factors such as socioeconomic status, religion, culture, geography, education, and science make it impossible to clearly define what's healthy or ethical. Sometimes I wish I could live in the times of the ancient Hebrews and read Leviticus like it was the food pyramid. Whether it comes from God or the FDA, we all crave guidance, something or someone to tell us right from wrong. I don't think I could tell the difference between herbivores, carnivores, or omnivores now either. Last summer, I was driving alone to Alliance, Nebraska to visit my mother and her current boyfriend. Along the way, I noticed something in a field to my right. A cow had just given birth, and her calf was sucking at her teats. Its legs wobbling and its chin dripping with milk as it took part in mammalian tradition. The mother cow, meanwhile, was chewing on a gummy, bloody heap of placenta. I stopped my car and pulled over to watch. I'd seen this exact scene before. Mother and baby, virgin and child. A scene so universal and integral to us as mammals that we've constructed entire religions around it. This should have been mundane to me, but for some reason I stopped to watch this time. It was still early morning. The placenta in the mother's mouth was crusted in dry grass and mud, and it steamed in the cold air. After giving birth, cows, it's not uncommon to find cows eating their placenta. Placenta is a natural cornucopia of nutrients, something that shouldn't be wasted in a world where survival is never certain. As she chewed, the mother didn't seem to notice the calf beneath her, didn't seem to realize that she'd just given life and was giving more life in the form of her milk. Instead, she just kept chewing. Just then, I spotted a brown and white paint horse sneaking up to the cow and her calf. Its head hung low and its hooves plodding heavily. Okay, why is my father trying to call me? Dad, you're gonna have to. Okay, I don't care. I'm ignoring you right now. I'm busy. Sorry, my dad was trying to call me. Here we are. Just then I spotted a brown and white paint horse sneaking up to the cow and her calf. Its head hung low and its hooves plodding heavily over the ground. It came face to face with the cow, took the other end of her placenta and started chewing on it. The cow must have noticed. Her eyes were wide open and she likely looked the horse in the eye, but instead of reacting in any way, she let the horse have a share of what her body and nature had made. I sat on the hood of my car for nearly an hour. I didn't leave until the cow and horse had eaten the last of their meal, the sky pale, glowing pink behind them. Thank you.
Great story.
That was well done, Lenny. Thank you. That was freaking hilarious. But, and I love this. I love the story about David Hufford. I think it only takes once. You only have to meet him once. And I think each one of us has a story similar to that, where you're hanging out afterwards for about a half an hour, and your coffee's cold, but you don't care, and you just, because you know you're going to learn something. He's got a story. He's got something to tell you. He's going to help you with something, and I think everybody's got one, and it's a cool thing. He amazingly touched so many lives without what seems like any effort at all. For him, it just seemed effortless to talk and hold court for hours, and I think that's a cool thing. That's to have that much energy. I mean, honestly, I'm out of here after like 2 minutes sometimes, because I'm beaten. And I have a lot of respect for somebody who can just do that for so long. It's a cool thing. Next up is, who is next? Tom, Mr. Ukinski.
All right, thank you.
I'm going to go out on a limb a little bit. I'm going to read a prayer. This is from the High Writings. I'm reading it because David had a great faith, and so I felt like it was really appropriate to read this, and I know everybody may not be religious in nature, but it's a short and very poetic, so I thought I'd read it. And it's a prayer for the departed. So this is for David. O my God, O thou forgiver of sins, bestower of gifts, dispeller of afflictions, verily I beseech thee to forgive the sins of such as have abandoned the physical garment and have ascended to the spiritual world. O my Lord, purify them from trespasses, dispel their sorrows, and change their darkness into light. Cause them to enter the garden of happiness. Cleanse them with the most pure water, and grant them to behold thy splendors on the loftiest mount. So, David. This is from a blue silver echo, which I think is fairly recent. It has a picture of David reading at the Crescent moon. So I think it's fairly recent. Of course, he's been here for a while, so it may not be. But so I was just going to check to see 2013. So it's fairly recent. I was going to read the back of this book. A Blue Silver Echo is the name of the book, and he has a very interesting comment, authorial comment in the back on the cover. The poet seeks answers in life for the conflicting questions of life and its recurrent themes, asking, what is meaningful, beautiful, holy? Who is he to be observing these things, saying these things, doing these things, towards some inevitable end? Well, the song of the life will set up a lovely echo. Great. That's great. And there's poetry right there, just on the cover. I thought I'd read this one by David. It's kind of apropos to recent history. It's called Now I Am Old Enough to Say. And the what do you call it? The epigraph, I guess. It says, come celebrate with me. Someone has tried to kill me, and it failed. A prompt cited at National Poetry Slam 2012. Wildness and wilderness, many things tried to undo me. Disease and destruction, the worst of which was me. Now I am old enough to say, I am the prodigal son who returns to give a banquet for his family and friends. Around the seasons, we have watched the world turn into buds, then leaves, then fruits and nuts and seeds. Then, having served its time, send leaves to fall, to fail and fly and fall. Reverberations down a canyon in some wild place, where once my voice was heard. I ask you now, come celebrate with me. Something has tried to kill me, and it failed. It's my party, and I can rejoice if I want to. St. Paul says there is no law against such things. Oh, rejoice with me. If I can't be humble, I can at least be generous. I am the prodigal son who returns to give a banquet for his family and friends. And then I'll just read a really short one, which I thought was kind of really cool. It's called Lost Poem. Here I have lost a poem for failing to save it. Many times I have lost a poem for failing to write it. But this is a computer, and it does not know the anguish of the unrecorded heart. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. I think that was perfect to start things off with a prayer like that. He'll like that. Yeah, he had a real fondness for that kind of writing, and so I think that's cool. And I love the ones you chose too. So well done. So next up is Vicky.